Good evening. Premier Li Keqiang has called on Philippine President Benigno Aquino to resolve remaining issues from the 2010 Manila hostage tragedy as quickly as possible. The two leaders discussed the incident on the sidelines of a regional forum in Brunei. Tony Sabine has more.
A meeting between Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying and the Philippine President earlier this week failed to put an end to the controversy. Benigno Aquino refused to apologize for the bloodshed that killed 8 people from Hong Kong 3 years ago. The Philippine leader made clear a lone gunman, disgruntled former policeman Rolando Mendoza, was responsible for the tragedy. He also said in his culture, quote, unquote, "We cannot admit wrongdoing if it's not ours." Yesterday, Premier Li Keqiang held brief talks with Aquino on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Brunei. The Premier said the controversy had dragged on for a long time. Li urged Manila to handle the aftermath in a serious and reasonable manner. Aquino responded by saying his government would continue to investigate the case and handle it properly. In Brunei today, leaders of ASEAN countries and the bloc's 8 dialogue partners, including China and the United States, met at the 8th East Asia Summit. In his opening address, the Sultan of Brunei cited challenges such as food and energy security, climate change, disaster management and pandemic diseases. Premier Li, for his part, called for greater mutual trust to safeguard regional peace and stability. Without peace and stability, any development is out of the question, the Premier said. Also today, the leaders of China, Japan and South Korea met with Southeast Asian heads of states in the ASEAN Plus 3 summit. In another development, Myanmar, an isolated dictatorship just a few years ago, assumed the ASEAN chairmanship in a ceremony today, although its duties will not begin until next year.
Myanmar has been receiving very strong support from and assistance from the member states and also from the partner countries. We are convinced that Myanmar will take up the chairmanship effectively, successfully.
Even the opposition National League for Democracy acknowledged the country has gradually changed and that it's the right time for Myanmar to take on the role of ASEAN chairman. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
To the latest in the U.S. government shutdown, Democrats and Republicans are not only divided over the fiscal deadlock, they can't even agree on a guest list for talks aimed at resolving the impasse. The White House has invited all Republicans in the House of Representatives to a meeting today, but House Speaker John Boehner has limited attendance to 18 party leaders and key committee chairs. That's apparently aimed at lessening President Barack Obama's exposure to other Republicans who might dissent from the party leadership stance. The shutdown is now in its second week with no end in sight, and there are 7 days to go before the deadline to raise the country's debt ceiling to avoid a default.
The White House has cut back on some of the aid it's sending to Egypt. It's a move the Obama administration has been considering since July, when the Egyptian military ousted President Mohamed Morsi, the country's first democratically elected president. But it's still unclear how much Washington is cutting back on its $1.5 billion in annual aid, most of which is military aid.
We are not proceeding with the delivery of certain military systems. Following on the results of the review directed by President Obama, we will announce the future of our assistance relationship with Egypt. We will continue to support a democratic transition and oppose violence as a means of resolving differences in Egypt. And our relationship with the Egyptian government, including U.S. assistance to Egypt, will continue.
Welcome back. 3 newborn babies have been infected with a drug-resistant bacteria at Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The bug is different from the one that caused an outbreak at the hospital earlier. The 3 baby girls, aged between 23 and 53 days old, are now in isolation in Queen Elizabeth Hospital after their infections were uncovered in August. They caught the Acinetobacter baumannii, a bacterium that affects those with weak immune systems, in the neonatal intensive care unit. Multiple strains of the bacteria were found in 2 of the girls. Microbiologist Vincent Cheng said the bacteria is in fact commonly found in our living environment, be it at home or in nature, without affecting most people. But it's a different story for high-risk patients.
This patient may develop invasive infection, including urinary tract infection, surgical site infection, peritonitis, pneumonia, or even more seriously, bacteremia. That means the blood culture is positive for the bacteria. And of course, if the patient is seriously ill with the underlying condition, and then the organism may affect the patient with significant morbidity and mortality.
Hospital authority figures show 34 cases in total last year, while 27 have been found this year so far. It's still investigating the source of infection. According to global data, the bacteria infection has a mortality rate of about 50%. But Dr. Cheng said despite being what's called multi-drug resistant, it is still treatable.
In general, the name drug resistant, that means it is resistant to the first-line antibiotic treatment, so we can still use the second-line antimicrobial agent to treat the patient.
But these do come with stronger side effects and are especially harsh on the kidneys. Dr. Cheng said the most crucial step is prevention. Don't underestimate the effectiveness of diligent hand washing.
3 men were sent to prison today after being found guilty of defrauding power companies out of more than $30 million. They received sentences ranging from 8 to 23 months in jail. They were found guilty of tampering with their electric and gas meters and at several restaurants, causing the loss for CLP Power and Town Gas. The district court heard Town Gas received an anonymous letter in July last year about the meters being tampered with. A police investigation found the restaurants, with the help of a technician, inserted a small piece of wire in the meters to stop them from ticking when the gas and electricity was being used. Those found guilty today included the technician and 2 restaurant owners. The Urban Renewal Authority's budgetary surplus in the last fiscal year hit $4.4 billion. The value of its net assets was at an all-time high since the organization was founded 12 years ago, but it says it needs to be financially prudent given the large number of projects it has launched and a possible downturn in the property market. Jenny Lam reports.
The account books of the Urban Renewal Authority, or URA, are looking pretty healthy. It recorded a surplus of $4.4 billion for the last financial year and a 70% increase from the previous year. It's the second highest annual surplus the URA has seen since it was founded 12 years ago. Its net assets went up 20% to reach $26.2 billion. It might look like a bright and happy future for the URA, but the organization has nearly 20 projects on hand. Up till the end of March, the cost of properties under development reached a new high of $22.4 billion, an increase of nearly 20% from the year before. The URA believes it faces more risk now than ever before. URA Board Chairman Victor So talked of financial challenges and the need for prudent planning in his annual report. Our projects may be clouded by a possible downturn in the property market, he warned, because of an end to the loose monetary conditions over the 5 years since the global financial crisis. The URA's projects often incur huge compensation for the old buildings or even entire streets it takes over for redevelopment. But the plot ratio is usually minimal, so exposing the URA to financial risks. Legislator and URA board member James To, though, said it is their mission to redevelop old buildings that are not worth refurbishing.
So the URA must manage its financial position prudently by shortening the time between the clearing of the site and the tendering process, so that hopefully most of the risk will be shouldered and transferred to the developer partner.
He expects the URA to continue its work despite the ups and downs of the property market. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
You may soon be able to use your smartphone as an Octopus card. Octopus Cards Limited launched a trial run today for the city's first Octopus mobile payment service. Rani Samtani has more details.
1. Just like an Octopus card, you'll be able to pay for public transport and buy items at retail stores using your mobile phone. The new mobile payment service integrates the service's payment function with your smartphone using near-field communication or NFC technology. Sunny Chung, CEO of Octopus Cards Limited, says the service will be completely secure and personal data on your phone will be protected.
If you look at the Octopus card, it is a proximity payment. You have to place your Octopus or your NFC phone within certain centimeters. So for that reason, it is not easy for other people to tap into your card and get your money.
NFC technology is becoming more widely used in Hong Kong and is currently used by certain banks for automatic credit card payments. Octopus phone users will need to install a special SIM card in their device. The new payment service is being deployed from today on a trial run, with only 5,000 payment SIMs available from PCCW HKT outlets. And consumers will have to pay $100 to activate this feature on a mobile phone. For now, the service is only compatible with certain Sony smartphones, but Chung says Octopus is working with other network operators and phone manufacturers to include more networks and devices. The Optimus mobile SIM allows your phone to function just like an Octopus card. You simply tap your phone on the reader to make a payment. However, if your phone runs out of battery, the function will be disabled and you won't be able to make a payment. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
New technology is now being used to help improve the quality of care for elderly people and those who suffer from dementia. Rachel Leung takes a closer look.
81-year-old Mrs. Chan, who has mild dementia, can still walk with the help of an assistant. Now, new technology can help dementia patients such as Mrs. Chan. Scientists say this is the world's smallest reflective device to measure blood oxygen content and heart rate. It uses reflective technology to check and record the pulse and oxygen levels by a finger sensor. Results then become available on a tablet. It will either be a smiley face indicating that blood oxygen is normal or a frown if there are irregularities. The machine will then transfer the results to a mobile phone of a family member of the patient.
For example, if it is a reflective type, for some elderly, they may have some record the grade now, and that may affect the measurement accuracy. But currently this one, we just need to reflect, so even they have the grade now, that will not affect their measurement accuracy.
In addition, robotic dogs like this one can provide company for dementia patients and the elderly.
There are a lot of elderly who are living lonely at home, so we developed this robot to interact with the elderly.
The pet robot's body has a lot of touch sensors. It can feel touches and make different responses. Although it is fun, but it is not recommended for the elderly to interact with it for more than 10 minutes. Patients can interact with the dog on a computer screen, and scientists say doing that for a long period of time can be bad for someone's eyesight. Rachel Leung, TVB News.
And finally for tonight, after somehow being forgotten for a century, a 350-year-old map of Australia will go on display next month in Canberra. The map of New Holland, the historical name of Australia, was created in 1663 by the master cartographer for the Dutch East India Company. It formed the basis for all other maps of New Holland and was even used by famed explorer Captain James Cook. Among its features are the first documented details of Tasmania. It's also the first time Australia and New Zealand are named by the Dutch. The map was snapped up by the National Library of Australia after it was stumbled upon in a storage facility in Sweden in 2010. Well, looks very exciting. I'd like to have a look at that.
I'd like to have it.
Me too. Well, that's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Good night.